Do you want to ask now of this witness is the question? You don't want to ask, you want to wait until Mr. DePel testifies?
Any questions of Mr. Ware?
Well, I was going to bring up a couple of
So do I. So.
questions or comments, if I may.
Go ahead.
Should I start?
Nice and loud.
You did comment that one reason that this lot is unsaleable is that it fronts on Ridge as an R1 property for a residential home. Couldn't the house front on North Grange and be turned sideways to Ridge and come out on North Grange?
It could, but in my opinion, that still is not a desirable lot for a single family at that location. That's my opinion.
Okay. That opinion is what they're asking of you, so,
Right.
yeah. You also commented that the 2 acres is an odd size, and I would agree with that, and I would probably agree that you're not gonna get any more money selling a 2-acre lot than you maybe would for a 1.5-acre lot, because the buyer may not feel that he's getting full money for it. But I think that 1.5-acre lots in an R1 district do go for a fairly hefty premium rate now. And with the frontage on North Grange, isn't this really just a dollar value we're looking at, that maybe it's priced where it can't sell?
It's probably a relationship between a dollar value for the land, whatever that might be, and what size and expense the house would have to be built on it to justify the cost of the land.
Yeah.
I don't see that correlation, sir. I've
Well, this
bought
is
and
my-
sold
my-
and moved a lot and lived in houses. Why do you need a certain size home on a certain size of land to make it?
It's based on whatever it would cost to buy the land for whoever's gonna buy the property.
Because when you buy a vacant piece of lot and say you pay $200,000 for it, then you have to build the house on it, which costs X number of dollars, and then you want to, if you're going to sell it and market it, then it gives you a value of what that house should be. That's the correlation, not necessarily it's somebody has to do it or doesn't want to do it. Maybe they'll spend $200,000 for the lot and spend $100,000 to build their house. We don't know that. But on a 2-acre lot, the presumption and the testimony is that the house wouldn't be a 1,000-square-foot house. It would be something in the nature of a 4,000 or 5,000, 6,000 square foot house to fill the lot.
May I finish mine?
Okay.
Thank you, Nancy.
No, I'm sorry.
I have to go in order here.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
My bad.
No, I'm just going to comment, and this is really not so much of a question as a comment, that you mentioned that there were a couple of commercial properties along that stretch of ridge. And I'm not really that familiar with the contractor. I know there is equipment kept in the back of the lot. It's really not very visible. It is quite hidden. And as for the Blue Eagle Motel, you are correct. It's a commercial property, but it goes way back, and I'm guessing it predates zoning. So in a sense, it's not really an example of what has been allowed in the last 50 years on that stretch of property.
Right, I understand that.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying a lot of that pre-existed zoning or pre-existed a change in the R1 criteria to require 65,000 square feet.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to know, looking at the map, which ones were the, which are which.
It is, it's almost impossible, and as
Right.
Mrs. LaBoche pointed out, that you can't tell looking at a map, even, all you're seeing are lot sizes, and you don't really know how many lots are owned by a particular person, so.
But the main thing is the fact that apparently since it's been marketed several occasions, it's still in the market. We went through a big housing boom, and then we went through a big housing bust. You would think that somewhere along the line, if it was desirable for a single family, that a builder would have purchased it and built a house.
Now, I know there have been, and I'm not being argumentative here, but I know there have been houses built on the ridge in the last 10 years or so that do face the ridge, so there must be some people that don't
Well,
mind.
that person might come along, you never know, nobody
Yeah.
knows.
Okay, at any rate, I am done, Nancy.
I would like to address your comments too. A 2-acre lot to me sounds great, personally. But that's the point of it is you decided that nobody would buy it and build a house. If you ride down the ridge constantly like I do to get to see my family, this tract of new homes are magnificent. that's on
Steinberg.
Steinway Road.
It's a totally different.
The church next to it, in recent years, a huge, beautiful home was built. Next to that are two more big, beautiful homes. The motel was there when time began, so we won't even discuss that. Across the street from Grange Avenue is a beautiful stone private home, right on the ridge in Grange. Your assessment of what the ridge looks like is totally wrong.
Well, it's simply my opinion.
And this is my opinion.
Yeah, well, I guess.
And that corner where you're looking at that two acres is probably one of the most dangerous in the wintertime. That's Mile Hill.
Mhm.
You're gonna have heavy equipment coming in and out of there on Mile Hill.
They don't cut grass in the wintertime.
You'll have to ask the
I mean, if you're gonna look at it one way, you gotta look at it always. What this project does, puts a equipment out there that doesn't come in and out now. And that's what we add. And that's, the fact that it's R1, that was done a long time ago, when there was gonna be a lake down at the bottom of the hill. I mean, that's how that all arranged. And it picked up, when you go up
The dam.
Grange Avenue towards Germantown Pike, there's some beautiful, huge
Correct. I've been
homes
down there.
all along there.
I've been down there.
So you just made a whole recitation on how this is gonna be better because this is bad because of what's here. Not right.
Ms. McFarland, you have to he's trying to take that lot into context of what he sees as a planner. Granted, every lot, as your solicitor will tell you, is unique, and for purposes of zoning is unique, and for purposes of this application is unique. And what Mr. Ware, I think, was testifying to is that this particular property happens to be 2 acres in the R1 district, across the street from the motel, in an area that doesn't have as much of the compliant homes as does the subdivision that you mentioned, which is a beautiful subdivision designed appropriately in a cluster. This is just a single-family lot, which the issue then becomes is, can a reasonable use be permitted or be conducted on that lot as is required under the zoning ordinance? And what we're saying is that over the years, it's been on and off the market, maybe for 20-plus years, nobody bought it. Okay, we know that. Well, why did nobody buy it? Mr. Ware is offering those opinions as to what proposes that problem, and those are the factors that we look at, as Mr. McLennan will tell you, when we determine whether or not a variance is appropriate.
Well, I
So
wanted
that's
to
his
give him the
characterization
factors
on this
other
particular
people
lot.
look at.
Sure.
No, I think what she's saying is that his fundamental premise, that this is mixed use and therefore it should be allowed to continue mixed use, is flawed, because if you look at all the homes along there, they are single-family homes. They may not all be on 2-acre lots, but it's all a residential neighborhood and it's
But
R1, and that's
But
what I
it's-
think her point
I
is.
understand the point, but it establishes a market, establishes a marketability of the lot, and we have a history of the marketability of the lot, which shows it hasn't been available for single-family use. I think that's the point that we're trying to make in terms of, I understand everything you're saying, it's a residential character of the neighborhood, but we have
Well,
a character of a neighborhood
It came
in some
across very
instances-
negative.
And it wasn't intended to be negative, it's more of
And
just
I don't
trying
live
to-
on the ridge.
We're just trying to characterize this particular lot as it relates to what surrounds it and everything else that, the factors that we believe we have to show. So that, please, I apologize if it was insulting, but it wasn't intended to be.
Can you tell me how, I think Mr. D'Annunzio, is that perhaps DePrinzio, the owner, how he has marketed this property for 20 years?
I'm not up to speed on that.
And that might be,
The applicant.
we're gonna let Mr. Dupel testify as best he can, and if Mr., as part of our rebuttal, if we need to have Mr. DePrinzio testify, we can do that as well.
I think it's been by sign only, not by any formal marketing, perhaps?
I don't know, and I don't know if that was it, if it wasn't if that's relevant, it's not relevant, but
Well, it's relevant
It's
as it
relevant.
goes to the issue that you're contending, which is that it couldn't be sold. Now, the question is whether best efforts were employed to try and sell it or not. And if it's just a sign, her point is, that's not best efforts. It should have been listed, it should have been marketed, maybe you would have gotten a house in there.
and maybe it was listed, maybe it was marketed.
We don't know,
and
right.
that was not successful, so let's try.
We don't
it
know.
by own. Because maybe I have to eliminate the agent and not pay the commission because I can't get the price, I can't get anything for the lot, for residential use.
I hope you don't eliminate the agent.
I would never.
Mike, can we go back to the original, the aerial? Yeah, that one there. What's that, Mr. Ware?
That is apparently the landscaping business, where the building sits at the far back of the lot.
That's a pole barn?
I have not been back on that property. It looks like it could be a pole barn, it could be a metal structure. It's
And you say
definitely a
that's
barn-like structure.
You say that's a landscaper? Because I've seen a lot of people coming out of that place and waiting for a bus going to Norristown. So I never knew what was back there, but that's an R1 district.
Right.
It's amazing how a pole barn got put in there
Right.
without me knowing about it, being a supervisor for 12 years.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
But anyhow, apparently what that use does have, that the public has access to it coming, going. I don't know if they sell mulch, things like that back there, or.
Well, it's nice how you
been
got
there
it
a
lit
long
up
time.
too. I mean,
No, that was just the motor.
I don't know.
you know, it's amazing.
I think that's been there a long time, Tom.
Not in my lifetime, Nancy.
I've seen it.
15 years? Thank you. It is in my lifetime, thank you. I have some questions to ask you. You're talking about an 8-foot fence around the property. All right, you're also showing shrubbery. The shrubbery's gonna be on the outside of the fence, correct?
Exactly,
So therefore, what you're doing, you're hiding the fence.
correct, and the stuff that would be inside. We're
Because the
talking
reason why I'm
street.
asking that, because former supervisors after Nancy and myself went off, put the big issue about beautifying the ridge. Well, I went off the board in '01. Nancy, when did you go off? So the ridge hasn't been beautified since, is what I'm trying to say. Is there gonna be any signs on the property?
Not to my knowledge.
No signs whatsoever?
According to the applicant.
Okay, fence. This is gonna be a joke, but I'm serious about it. Any gunfire coming from that building? Like across the street?
No.
Now, you have a sign on the property for 149.5. Now, I did some estimating. If I was gonna build a house on that, if I bought that property and I wanted to put a house on there, I'd probably have to get $500,000 to $600,000 for that property. If I build a house on it. Build a house that will look good. Looked as good as the house that's behind, like that gentleman lives in and that gentleman lives in. Okay? I don't think I wanna live in a house for $600,000 sitting on the ridge. Not when a tractor trailer's coming down, not when buses stop at the corner and everything else. That's my feeling, okay? And I don't feel that you went out of line on anything, personally. Me and Nancy don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but personally on that, I don't think you're out of line.
Well, again, it's my opinion as a professional planner.
And changing from paving to stone is a hell of a good idea, because you're knocking down your impervious coverage. And what else did I have here? I had the fencing, cross that off. And, you know, I heard some people laughing about saying George Washington lived in a motel across the street. You know, I'm gonna tell you something. It came before the board once before that somebody wanted to put a crematorium on that property. And I'm dead serious. But you know why they didn't do it? Because there wasn't enough parking spaces. And I said to the person, well, how many parking spaces do you need to burn somebody? You need just a hearse, that's all you need, right? But that never passed. So you could put another motel there. You know, there are a lot of things you can put on that property other than a pole barn. So that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions from anybody?
George, do you have a-
I'm not sure this is the appropriate time. We probably want to move on anyway.
Lead with weakness.
Thank you for that.
I'm not
words
sure
of
this is the
support.
time.
I'm just curious, and when you showed the setback variances, and of course, you're correct that the building itself is in the middle of this, but the fact that you're going to have the building surrounded by, and now an impervious surface with vehicles parked on it, and I'm not really sure that if I parked a bunch of vehicles, that I would want them parked within the variance setback requirements.
You're
If you
talking
see what I
about the
mean.
R1 setback?
Yeah,
I think the setback that was depicted exceeded the R1.
But
Right,
what-
and
what
the
he's
building
talking-
itself
what he's talking
exceeds
about
it.
is right here, there are pieces of the setback that would have the gravel extending over it. Actually, in my professional opinion, and since this is still conceptual, if necessary, that could be adjusted so that the parking would be within the setback area. It would reduce the impervious surface, or the pervious surface even more, or impervious more.
I was just curious as to how that, how legally that would count as regarding the setbacks. But perhaps you don't need to get into that right now. Let's move on.
Yeah, get
You
Kevin
might
up
get in
here.
trouble then.
Is there a landscape supply, or what's the use here, excavating? Is there an excavating business on Ridge Pike from Smith Road to Level Road that you know about?
Yes.
I know there's a quarry down there someplace as well, but the applicant is certainly more.
Well, we'll get to your testimony, and
No,
I appreciate
I'm-
that. But are
I'm
you
not-
aware of any?
Well, it depends, again, on how you define a landscape business.
Well, I'm not, I backed up, I backpedaled from landscape, I said excavating business. Is there an excavator from Smith Road, which is where that Gambone development is, right there, just next to us,
Right,
where we are now,
right.
down to Level Road? And I happen to use that because that's where my office is, on the
Right.
corner of Level Road right there. But is there an excavating business in that stretch? I'm trying to think. I know there's that building that Tom pointed out, but that sits way back.
Right.
Do you know if that's an excavating business?
I don't believe it is. I mean, excavating should not be confused with landscaping or buying and selling of landscape material or installation.
Right.
Or things of that nature.
Right, that's why I backpedaled from the use
Yeah,
of
no,
that
the
term.
excavating, the applicant can testify, but basically you go to take your equipment to the site and you do your work.
Right, I'm not asking about that, I'm just asking, is there one? Because,
I'm not aware of one.
okay, because one of the premises of your argument was that this is a mixed use, I'm just trying to see what the mixture is.
It's
Um,
quite a
it's-
mixture if you went parcel by parcel, or if you looked at a existing land use map.
Right, but one of the elements in order to get a variance is you have to demonstrate that it's not out of character with
Right.
the community that exists there. And I'm
Right.
trying to establish what that community is
Right.
for the record. That's why I ask these questions.
Correct.
And I'm sure you see where I'm going with
Yes,
it.
yeah.
And the ones that I know about in that stretch from Smith Road to Level would be the office building where I'm located, right there at the corner of Level and Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the church, the Baptist church, right? And there's the Blue Eagle Motel, which no one really understands why it's there.
100 years.
But it's
We know why
there.
it's there.
Steel plan
It's a service.
There's
There's two
Another church, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then you
But-
got steel plant equipment.
Churches aren't.
But that
That's
plan
beyond.
equipment's beyond Smith.
Wilson Boulevard.
Yeah, but it's beyond where he's talking.
So I'm just trying to get a handle on what's there that's mixed use, because it's all residential as far as I can tell. I don't disagree with you that it's a main thoroughfare,
right. We're all aware of that when you sit in traffic on it.
particularly down by the bridge. Now, you said that one of the reasons why it would be important to grant the variance is to get this property developed and productive in terms of paying taxes. Are you suggesting that there's no taxes being paid on that property
No,
now?
I'm sure there's real estate taxes,
Okay.
but I'm sure taxes based on his business, if there's a business privilege tax, things of that nature. Plus, if there are people that work for the excavating company that would be paying an earned income tax, things of that nature. And I'm sure with the improvement to the property, that the value would go up and that real estate taxes would be higher.
You also had talked about the issue of whether it could be utilized for purposes of a residential dwelling. Are you familiar with the residential dwelling that's at Smith Road and Ridge Pike? It fronts Ridge Pike?
No, now, if I saw a picture of it, I might recognize
Well, right next
it.
to us, there's a development built by the Gambones.
Right.
Right next to that is a single-family home, right there at the corner of Smith and Ridge.
Okay,
And, yeah, I think you're right, there's one back behind that as well. That, I ask you that because I don't know
Right
if
there.
you've witnessed that or looked at that house. It looks relatively new. I think I can remember when that was built, even though I'm so youthful looking. So that one was built relatively recently.
No, as the other person stated, there has been some construction. For some reason, this particular lot apparently has not appealed to anyone, for whatever the reasons are.
But is it your contention that if someone wanted to buy that lot and turn it into, and subdivide it, they'd have to obviously obtain a variance because of what you're talking about in terms of lot sizes?
Correct.
Would the introduction of residential real estate subdivision at that location, do you think that would be more likely to get a variance because it's more in tune with the character, or less likely?
Well, they might run into more variances than simply lot size. They may have trouble with the setbacks as well. Because definitely the one lot would be a corner lot, which would require 2 front yards. The other lot would have 1 front yard, 2 side yards, and a rear yard. It would limit the size of the house that could be built on it.
So from that perspective, that's why you think it's not really a saleable lot? for
Well, it's
purposes
just
of
based on the
residential.
fact that it's been on the market and has not had any takers, through good markets and bad markets, apparently.
Although I've been accused of liking to hear myself talk, and I won't keep you longer. You had in this exhibit A7, for example, this is the emergency exit, it says?
Right.
Who controls that emergency exit?
Well, I would say the applicant, the owner, in conjunction with fire department, police, any municipal services that would need to get in or out of there in case of any emergency.
But is it your contention that this is a true emergency exit, and it's going to be dedicated just to emergencies as opposed to continuous use?
That was the program that I was given by the applicant.
The other question is, you referred to this fence as a decorative fence.
Right.
I don't want to quibble with you about what's
Well-
decorative or not, but, so is this a chain link fence with some inserts?
We're not sure of the exact materials. It will definitely be a fence that has inserts. You'll not be looking through an open chain link fence. You'll not be looking at a split rail fence, things like that. It will screen the building and the equipment that's behind it. The actual quality of materials and stuff is yet to be determined. That's a conceptual, artist conception of it.
And I don't want to state the obvious, but you had mentioned that a lot of the building would not be visible
Right.
because of vegetation and whatnot.
Right.
But of course, we're coming into the fall season.
Right.
And we're going to lose a lot of that vegetation.
Right.
So is that going to change the perspective?
It changes to some extent, except that we're providing the evergreen buffer that will be there year-round and that grows relatively quickly. And if necessary, if the tree quality of existing trees are not good, they'll be removed and there will be more evergreen buffering put in to fill in whatever gaps.
Is it your contention that the township should not be able to control its stretch of Ridge Pike where it has in your map, this is R1, you're suggesting that because of the quote-unquote mixed use that you're referring to, that this use should be permitted because of the mixed use, and that the township shouldn't be able to override that by making it R1?
Well, it's already R1. It's been made R1.
And they, obviously, the township had a
Vision for R1.
had a concept in mind when it required it to be R1. And you're asking us
Correct.
to change that because the property can't be sold?
Well, because of the hardship of developing that particular parcel at that location as an R1 property.
Okay, well, so far I'm not sold on the hardship, but that's okay.
Well, it's my opinion.
Any other questions?
Let's get Kelly up here.
If you want to ask him any further questions, you're welcome to. Okay,
We're done.
thank you, Mr. Ware.
Thank you.
Any questions from the audience for this witness? Go ahead. You've been sworn, so you can obviously come up and
Okay.
ask your questions. Again, this is really questions that, and
Pertaining to his testimony.
pertaining to his testimony, limited to his direct examination. It's also, this is a civil setting,
Sure.
so let's keep it all civil. Not suggesting that you wouldn't, but I'm just saying.
Okay, I guess, Kevin Dombe, I live on Steinbrook Drive. I'm also on the board of the Homeowners Association. I probably didn't mention that earlier. In regards to your testimony, and this is what I was trying to, when they were trying to enter the evidence, I just wanted to point out, the chain link fence, according to township code, in a front yard, are you allowed to have a chain link fence?
I don't know, and if you're not allowed to, we would have a different type of fence material. This is
But-
conceptual and trying to show a use
Okay.
variance.
I
This is
assumed-
not a detailed,
Right. I just assumed that your expertise was also in conforming to the code of the.
well, we will, but this is, the idea, this is to try and get a use variance.
Okay, how
we-
about, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, no, go ahead.
How about the height of the fence?
There again, that would be the appropriate height based on the township approval. It could be 8
Right.
feet, could be 6 feet.
But in which case, these would require you to ask for another variance. So why wouldn't you look for all the variances that you needed to get before you applied for these variances?
Well, number one, if we didn't get the use variance, we wouldn't be dealing with the other variances.
So your intention is to kind of piecemeal as you go along and say, oh, oops, I need a variance. to
No,
Apply for another variance?
no. This is conceptual in nature. We want to comply with the ordinance as completely as possible, with the exception of the permitted use.
Okay. Also, in regards to the emergency exit onto Grange Road.
Right.
Grange Road is also codified in township as a weight limit of 5 tons.
I know it's a narrow road and it's a winding road and
Right,
so forth, yeah.
From Ridge Pike to Germantown Pike, it's got a weight limit of 5 tons, and that's in township code.
Mhm.
So I
Well,
just kind of wondering what.
The applicant can address
Okay.
those weight issues.
And I would assume that excavating equipment is going to exceed that weight limit, especially if on a truck.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
sure.
don't know.
That's fine. The other issue in regards is the activity that's going to occur on the property, which we haven't heard about, so dangerous that it requires another exit for an emergency.
Why don't you let me testify?
Yeah, you'll have to address the applicant on
Okay,
that one.
well, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
you did the
Our
design
drawing,
work.
our design was based on the program that he gave to us.
I believe Mr. Ware testified that if Ridge Avenue was blocked from an access standpoint, this is an alternate access, and nothing to do with the use being.
Right, and
used.
in
The
which-
fact that he can testify
In which case you'd be in
Well,
violation of.
let's not talk over
I'm
each
sorry.
other, let's just let people finish before we jump in.
Well, anyway, I mean, in emergency circumstances, police, fire, ambulance, anyone needs to be able to get in and out wherever they can.
Right. But an accident on Ridge Pike would not necessarily constitute an emergency to getting equipment off of your property, if that emergency.
No, I'm
didn't.
just saying that the hypothetical, if there was an accident or a traffic blockage or something wrong at the intersection or down in Ridge Pike, and there also happened to be a problem with something on the site, the emergency services need to be able to get there and take care of whatever it might be.
Okay. In regards to the impervious surface, now you're changing from the paving to stone. Now, in the definition, I don't know if you got to the end of impervious surface.
Yeah, I got it right here.
It says to be approved by the Board of Supervisors.
Correct.
And so the stone has been approved by the Board of
No,
Supervisors?
not at this point.
We're talking about pervious pavement, we weren't talking about using gravel.
No, I think this the definition does provide for the Board of Supervisors. to
At the
check
end
on
of it
that.
does
Right.
provide
It
that.
says that will be determined by the Board of Supervisors.
Right.
Porous paving materials used in parking lots, driveways, or other applications may be excluded from this definition following review and approval by the Board of Supervisors.
So I'm just saying, that has not occurred yet. So
No,
you're
no,
still
all that we're-
seeking-
all that
You're
we're-
still seeking the variance under the impervious surface.
No,
At this point, if they were to say.
It's an alternative, it's an alternative
Okay,
argument
so-
they can
So I'm
make.
just saying, so you're still seeking that variance. Maybe if you don't get granted that, that would be good and you'd be happy. The only point I'd like to make on that case is under the old plan, the impervious surface requested is 57%. In actuality, the impervious surface did not, if you brought up the slide, did not include the existing paving. So if you did the dimensions of the area requested, that would give you your 49,000 square feet. There's approximately an additional 4,000 square feet of
Right,
paving.
but that's within the property line, so it has to be counted.
Right, and it's not on your,
It is.
so you're saying if you added up those dimensions, you were, what'd you come up with? Where it's labeled?
It's approximately 4,000, or 3,200, or 4% for the building, and probably another 4% for the
Right.
macadam area.
Under the old plan with the asphalt, which when you came up, you still asked for the variance, you said may not be required, 57%. If you do the math on that area, and I'll let you do it, and then you do the math on that, that adds an additional 4,000 square feet. So you're at 60-some% of impervious.
I
coverage.
had nothing to do with the earlier plan preparation.
So your contention is that it's greater than the 57%?
That's it. Okay. I'll wait, I guess, for anything further.
Okay, thank you. You have any questions for this witness?
I don't know if he's a witness or.
Well, he's a litigant, he's not represented, so you can ask him questions if you want.
Well, I guess the idea is if he's asking questions of the witness, if he's coming to testify, then I
Well, I
would
think
be
some
happy
of
to
it
ask
was
questions.
testimony, that's why I give you the chance, but.
Well, I think more, it's probably more just, the board will make its decision, Mr. McLennan. I trust you, obviously, to interpret the ordinance, but the zoning ordinance, I think as it relates to this question of pervious paving, is we all know that there's asphalt that is pervious in nature, and I think that's what you have to go to the board for. We're saying gravel is not impervious at all. It's known to be a pervious surface, as if it was dirt or grass or something else. That's what the idea is. That's why we don't need to go to the board for approval, because the idea is that the water goes through it no matter what. I think the idea of going to the board under that provision of the ordinance is when you want to use a version of macadam that is pervious in nature, not impervious, because those exist.
They do exist, yes.
Other questions for Mr. Ware?
There
Yes,
is
sir.
another.
Come on up.
My name is Hong Jian Li. I live in Stanbright Drive. Hong Jian Li. First name is Hong Jian, Hongjian. Last name is Li, Li.
Well, you're going to ask questions, you're not testifying.
I want to ask a question.
Okay, if you just ask questions, you
Yeah.
don't have to swear.
My question
Okay.
is, you mentioned that lot is on.
You have to go a little slow, because she has to pick it up. Use the microphone,
Use the
too.
microphone, get closer to it.
My question
There
to
you go.
you is that the property you mentioned is on sale or not on sale? You said it's a sign there.
There's a sign there right now.
Sure? Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I was there last night. I drove past it and the sign was there.
Okay, because
I didn't go down, tonight, from where I came from, I just came here. I
Okay.
didn't go on down there.
Okay, great. And also, I hear the board member also asked the same question: is on sale or not? I just went to the website. It's realtor.com and Zillow.com. It's two popular real estate websites.
Yeah,
My
that-
question to
Yeah.
you is, I didn't see that on sale. That's it.
Did you ask him, but have you asked him, you have to ask him a question, not testify.
Yeah, my question is why you said it's on sale. It's only based on sign or based on the advertise anywhere.
Based on what
Sign only.
the applicant says.
So they didn't active on sale.
No,
Is
I
that
do
right?
not know the answer to that. We have the.
So you
applicant.
assume it is on sale?
Because the sign is there. I also would not completely trust any of those websites because
These are
they
web-
change momentarily, instantaneously, as you saw with the earlier applicant.
That's it. This is my question.
Thank you.
That's it. Done.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Here, you need this?
I'm Steve Kahn from Steinbright Drive. And my question is, the views you gave both on South Grange and Ridge of the renderings.
Mike, can you put those up just for purposes of this discussion here? Please. Those are the CAD drawings.
A5, 6, and 7, Michael.
All right. Did you have any other renderings from back from where,
From your side?
you're right?
No, the applicant did not request that. The applicant requested it's kind of interesting because the way the computer works, the other two photographs are basically one image, but the camera moves. This is a second image. To go to the other side, the back side or the far side, we would have to generate another computer model, which we were not authorized to do.
Okay. And are there any other renderings that have equipment that is not being sheltered in the shed? What that would look like based on sight lines from the street?
These are
The-
fully rendered. They're still conceptual in nature.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Okay. Shafwitz, your next witness, please.
Should we take a break?
Glass of water.
Yes.
I think somebody graciously offered a break during the process, and
Right.
my client has asked if that would be appropriate at this point,
Okay.
so we could use the
Sure.
facilities.
Is it
2
okay?
minutes.
Everybody?
2.5
10 minutes.
Just like 2.5.
2 minutes.
Yeah. 10 minutes.
Sure.
Thank you so
10
much.
minutes?
Appreciate it.
Is that yours or mine? Come to order again?
Yep.
Mr.
Thank-
Solicitor?
Thank you, everyone, for your patience and indulgence. We have not necessarily a dilemma, but we have some choices here. The hour is getting late. Mr. Shafwitz was kind enough to offer to continue his additional presentation because we had already announced in the beginning of this meeting that we were going to hold the record open for the next meeting as well, so that others could object or support whichever way they want to go, the application. Because we do have a large agenda or a long agenda, Mr. Shafwitz was kind enough and Mr. DuPel were kind enough to, in essence, offer that. We're a little concerned about continuing it because it may deny some of you kind folks who have come here tonight the opportunity to be here next month in this glorious fun that you're all enjoying. So we wanted to ask if there was anyone out there who had a strenuous objection for us pushing their additional portion of their case to the next hearing, and then you all would have the opportunity to, of course, ask questions there as you would now. Otherwise, I fear we're going to be here for quite a long time, and that may not be fair to many of you out there. So, that being said, does anyone strongly object to us granting the continuance request till October the 23rd?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
The question be to some of the people, is there anyone out here who came tonight to testify that won't be able to attend on October 23rd?
Well, either that or that they just don't think it should be continued, whatever their reasoning is.
Right, I want to make that clear. If there's anyone out here that doesn't think they'll be able to make October 23rd, tonight you're going to testify.
And chances are that you're going to be heard anyway because what you're going to ask is going to be what's asked by others anyhow. But go ahead.
Is the determination constrained to 2 meetings? And initially it was this night and October 23rd where the presentation will be made? Or is there a
Repeat the
possibility
question,
that
'cause
if
we
the
can't-
extent
no
of
mic.
the 23rd we constrain this tonight, that there could be another continuance if that second meeting on the 23rd is not sufficient for all the views to be heard?
There's always that possibility. I mean, the law says that we have to render a decision within 45 days, essentially, of the final hearing. So the question is, when's that final hearing? So, yes, sir.
Yeah, I repeat again for myself. My name is Hong Jianli. I'm the current president of the Stanbright Drive community. So my question to board is, how we represent our community? Is that possible? We in home association can represent entire Stanbright Drive.
If your bylaws allow you to, certainly, you could come as that representative if you wanted to, certainly. There's no requirement that you have to be represented by a lawyer in this setting, per se.
So you accept, so board member accept our current HOA board member, the boys, to represent entire province.
If you represent that that's what you have the support of your association and you've gone through your procedures to get that support, that's your prerogative.
Okay, thank you.
Question over here.
Did you say October 23rd?
Correct.
Is that also a Thursday?
Correct. Fourth Thursday of the month is our meeting date. Not necessarily. They can testify to it.
Just so you know that we have 5 more cases tonight. So you know, we want to give you a full chance, and anybody who's not here to have your say. We'll never be able to do it in one night.
Well, the 23rd, will this issue be the only item on the agenda for the 23rd, considering that there is such a large group of people that want to be heard?
Mike, what do you know what's on the agenda so far?
At this time, there's only one other hearing that is already scheduled for October.
Involved or not involved?
Probably not involved.
Okay. Meaning it's a relatively routine one.
So can the board determine that that will be constrained to that issue in this one?
We can't close
deny
the door of somebody else who brings an application and what's the advanced notices that you have to provide, Mike? They have to submit the application by what day?
Generally speaking, the end of the month, the end of the
Before.
previous month, so that there's basically 14 to 21 days to do the advertising.
So something could come along. I will tell you that all year it's been pretty lean until tonight.
The same thing doesn't happen again.
Right.
I understand.
23rd that is developing tonight.
It's a valid concern, but I
But
think
not likely.
we're up to number 21 if we get to it by the end of tonight, and we're in the 9th month. So we're averaging, you know, a little bit more than 2 per month normally. What happened this month, I don't know, but everyone seems to have put their application in. This is very unusual in
And today's
my
the
many
what, the
years. I don't think we've ever
26th?
had more than 5 or 6.
25th.
4 more days in September? That's gotta
5
be-
more. Right.
So
Gotta be
my
rushed.
guess is, informed by about 7 years on the board, that there won't be more than maybe one other, and we certainly should be able to get through all the testimony in October. And we have to do it in October anyway, we've already agreed to that.
Right,
with,
that was already a ground rule.
a ground rule, so we will be back, and it will be part of the agenda.
And you know Thursday night, sir, it's football night.
Not for you.
Not for me tonight.
Yes, sir.
Just in the event that someone's not able to attend on the 23rd, what's the official procedure for someone submitting a letter to the board? Is that, like, where do you send it to?
Well, you're part of the homeowners association, are you not?
I am.
So somebody from your homeowner, the gentleman just said somebody from your homeowners association will be here to represent you.
Okay.
So that should cover the whole array.
If they have an issue, they should submit it through him, because it's not really something that we should be getting, it's what we call
Directly.
hearsay, there's nobody can cross-examine that person necessarily,
All
so
right, so you won't take a letter as,
just to bring it through your association, you can express your
Through
perspective
your
that way.
representative.
sure, okay. All right.
I've got a question. If there's some neighbors who are unable to attend, who live on Grange, for example, due to their age and the time of night, same question, a letter because there is no homeowner association or?
Normally, if you present the information, we'll consider it theoretically, but someone should present it even though it's still hearsay, because they're not here to testify. But in the past, the board has looked at someone who has said, well, gee, this person doesn't have any objection, and here's their letter to say that they don't have an objection, or this person has an objection, here's the letter that says they have an objection.
You could put a petition to
And as long as it's fairly
Let's
cut and
do a
dry,
petition.
and there's no real room, it's just your testimony or this person's testimony, and it's straight, you know, without too much extraneous material.
So with that, we will grant the continuance request.
So the other
and
people
look
can get
forward
their
to
decks
seeing
done.
everyone
Thank you
there.
very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, everyone.
You might still get the second half.
Okay, that's fine.
That's fine.
Great.
Thank you,
you.
Mr. Ware.
Save 2 more trees.
Yeah, I love that nice big chart, bigger than the one I have. I actually was carrying one with me tonight, in zoning.
Right.
Okay. Who's the next one here? Paul and Nancy Hannah. Who's
next?
that?
Paul Mangiardi.
It'll still be long.
Darling, how are you?
That was my
How you
husband, my
been?
name.
You look the same.
Paul, Nancy. Up to there, yeah. Okay, are you ready? Let me stop.
Yesterday, support LP zoning here.
The meeting will return to order.
Was holding a zoning board meeting at South Carolina.
Did we lose our secretary?
Let's work on it until we see what happens. If you're available, please come out. Support Kevin. He has done much.
Oh, she's getting information.
Send it again. We'll have to give her a minute to do that.
And we can't, our reporter's not sitting.
She's got to
getting,
get information.
she's getting information. But the next one is Paul and Nancy Hannum.
Want me to read it?
What happened?
Yeah. Thank you. Felt good.
Yeah.
Wonder why it wasn't. It was
Stuffy.
There's a big zoning map. And we never actually submitted that one.
Hey Nancy, we did this for you.
We have to wait for the secretary.
As soon as she sits down.
You're next. Well, you want to or not?
Because they just blew up the big one on there.
We understand.
All right, Council.
The next item,
She's not
Wait
on
for
a
Paula. You're
recorder.
for Paula. Just
Wait,
wait a
calm
second.
down.
Wait a second.
You gotta wait for Paula.
We have to have the record. Let her get her exhibits together.
She's ready. Her fingers
Ignore them.
All right.
Are you
we're
ready? Okay. Go ahead, Joyce.
no, where's our
Yeah, is our cameraman doing his cameraman thing?
You're on.
You're on. You're up.
The next applicant is item Z 1417, Paul and Nancy Hannum, 2652 Amy Drive, Trooper PA 19403. The applicant is requesting a variance from section 143-37, requiring a 20-foot setback to allow for construction of a detached garage with a side yard setback of 6 feet. Parcel ID is 430000280001. Again, it's located at 2652 Amy Drive, Trooper PA 19403. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we're Paul and Nancy Haddam. Do I need to?
Well, are you gonna testify or just
Well,
ask questions?
I'm just gonna present our request. That's all.
Can you
He's the
pull that
applicant.
He's the
microphone?
applicant.
Then you should be sworn, please.
Okay. Yeah, we're Paul and Nancy Haddam, and we're hoping not to be up here quite as long as everybody else was.
Mike, can you fix that microphone?
Give him one
Can
that
you-
works, would you please?
Okay, I'm
No, you're fine. It's the-
Okay.
It's the mic, Paul.
Do you want this?
Oh, if I can.
He's getting you behind you.
You're on TV, so you wanna.
Yeah, they won't hear you at home.
Okay, is that better?
Okay. Your name, sir?
Paul Hannum. And we're requesting a variance to build an attached garage. It says detached in the call out there, but it's for an attached garage on the side of our house. And our property is on Amy Drive, which is between Trooper Road and Park Avenue, and it's a neighborhood of bi-level houses and modest colonials and some ranchers put in there. And we have a bi-level. And if you know bi-level, it's all finished inside. There's no storage. There's no basement. The only thing we have is a tiny little garage underneath that I don't think a car has ever been in there. It's full of our stuff. And we've always wanted to get a two-car garage that we can actually park our cars in and use a little storage and have an area to set up a workshop. And the hardship is that with the 20-foot setback, we can't put a garage beside our house. And beside the house is really where the garage would normally be for convenience, for the appearance of the house. The other houses in our neighborhood, we would look like the other houses in our neighborhood that have put garages on the side of their house. And also, Also, if we put the garage anywhere else, it would take up more space in our yard because, right now, it's going to go where the cars are parked anyway, and we wouldn't get that space back by putting a garage in behind the house. And, if we don't have any plans to move, but if we did move on, I think a prospective buyer would see the value in the house improved if the garage was attached. It's going to be just a simple garage, 24 by 28 feet, 16-foot door on the front, and a roof line that matches the same slope as the roof on our house, which is basically what the other people in the neighborhood who have attic garages have done. And I know that my neighbor, Joe Gauntlet, got a variance in 2003, and his garage now is within 6 feet of our common property line, and we're hoping to be able to do the same thing that he has. And that's about it.
You'll have dueling garages then?
No.
Not necessarily. Well, we'll be side by side. The houses will look uniform.
No, our garage will be on the other side, not on the side where his garage is.
And now that person will have to put a garage on the
Right.
other side and keep going down the street.
That was my lame attempt at humor.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
No, he just put in a fence. He's not going to put in a garage.
Well, your hardship's gonna be that if you don't get the garage, you're gonna move out of the township, right?
No, we're not.
Well,
If we don't get a garage, we're just going to cram
you know,
more into what we
we're
got.
getting up in age, and
We don't
it's
wanna lose
getting,
that- We don't wanna lose that tax
it's
break.
difficult
I
to
know that.
clean off the car, and I said we
No,
need
the
a
guy across the street
garage.
from me has a bi-level without a basement, and I know what you're up against. He had to put up a garage, and he borrows my snow blower, so I know what you're up against.
I have a question. On your diagram, patio and walkway that extends out,
Yes.
and then I can't really read what you have with those little lines.
Okay, well, the original house
This is a
had,
bank.
had a garage in the side of the house
Right.
that you had to swing your car around. So they filled in that space. They curved the driveway around like it shows on the lot, and they filled in that space with a bank and a walkway. We just had a nice paver walkway put in there, and that comes all the way out into the driveway. I mean, otherwise, we could make a smaller garage, but we need to have that extra width of the garage.
Well,
So-
how's the person going to get into that one garage door without a,
Well, it took me a while to figure it out, but it turns out that everybody in the neighborhood that's put in a garage has done pretty much the same thing because all the houses are kind of the same. They get a 16-foot door, and they offset it out. It would be offset out towards the property line. And that way, you can get around that bank. You can bring your cars in just the way we park them now. We park them side by side in the driveway now, and we can do it with if we have one single garage door, the two cars will fit in.
okay, that was my only question.
Is it gonna be prefab?
No, I have a builder that's going
You
to
have a builder
come
build
in
it?
and build it, yes.
Do you have any, I'm sorry, was I interrupting you, Tom?
No.
No, I'm done, Bobby, thank you.
Know how high it will be, or?
Well, it's it's a one-story garage, and the pitch of our roof is about 7 feet. You can't stand up in our attic. And this garage will be the same way. It'll mirror the pitch of our roof. It won't be, it'll be,
Right.
so it'll be
One
7,
It'll be
story.
constructed
8 feet and 7
different
feet
form
high.
with your house.
Yes.
It'll blend into the neighborhood.
yes.
I'm just curious, will it have a door to get into the garage from the house, or
Yes.
it will?
Yes, it will.
You're gonna be living in the lap of luxury.
Oh, my.
Well, yeah, it'll be very nice.
I would comment that if you are putting a two-car garage up to put two cars in and you have no other storage, you'll
Well,
soon find that probably won't work out
we,
real well.
well,
But
I have a
We-
promise.
I think we'll get two cars in there.
for a while
Or-
anyway.
Or,
I know one
other
will get in
troubles.
first.
yes, there's one
Well, when
definitely
we,
going to
no,
be in
never
there.
mind.
And you did consider putting the garage behind the house, but that
Well,
wouldn't really work.
I don't think it wouldn't be attractive to the house. we'd have to take some trees out, and it would take up a big space in the yard, which it doesn't need to if it goes
And there
where
would
it
be
is.
more impervious
One
pavement.
last question, and I promise I'll be done. The garage, are you gonna have the loft area floored and access to it?
Yes, it'll.
For storage?
For storage.
That
It
makes
won't
sense.
be, it won't be a living floor. It'll-
Okay, that's
it'll-
what I was
it'll be
just gonna
storage for
confirm with
storage,
you, that it will simply be for storage.
Yes.
There's no, you may have light, but there'll be no plumbing, there'll be nothing up there except
No,
used for storage.
no, it'll be the same as our attic, and you can't stand up in our attic, so
Okay.
there's no,
Yes, I am. Go for it, Joyce.
I have one question. The letter that's dated August 11th, 2014, from William and Julie Lindley,
yes,
I'm just trying to figure out where they live, because I don't see them on the list that you had provided of neighbors. And maybe I just...
No, the list is people that have garages
But
built
where are
on,
they in the neighborhood?
right next to us.
immediately next to us. They're on the corner of Amy and,
Park.
what is that street?
Jennifer.
Jennifer?
Oh, Jennifer.
Okay.
No, it's
Alexander?
Alexandra, yeah.
Alexander.
And
That's nice
Yeah.
that they are in support of you doing that.
Yes,
That's
it's
great.
fine with
Okay, I
them.
was just trying to figure out where they were in your community.
In fact, it actually gives them a little bit more privacy because of the way the houses are lined up. They have a colonial, and it's on the corner, so their back deck is visible from our back deck, and the garage will,
That will shield that.
Yeah, will
for
shield
them. Okay. That's all I had.
I wondered why your application was not notarized.
I don't know anything about that.
Well,
We,
Mr. Ham, this is your application.
Yes.
It's true and correct. You filled it out, correct?
yes,
And it's your signature on the document.
yes.
And you've been married to your lovely wife for how many years?
Trick question. 34 years.
34 years. And you're familiar with her signature?
Yes,
Is that her signature on the document that's been submitted as the application?
yes, it is.
It's true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and
Yes, it
belief?
is. Yes, it is.
John?
Nancy, you have anything?
The driveway, the shape of the driveway,
Yes.
is it that way now?
Yes, it is that right now.
Oh, so you're leaving it the way it is?
Yes.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah,
I'll make a motion that
Wait,
this,
should we ask if anyone?
Got any opposition out
okay.
there in the
anyone in the
world of
audience wanna
opposition?
make a statement or ask a question?
yeah.
None being recognized.
Yeah.
Your motion, madam.
I'll make a motion that the application be approved.
You got a second?
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hope you catch the fourth quarter.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Sorry I had to wait.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
the next,
Thank you.
the next item is Z1418, James Hickey. Kathy, you want to read that?
Tom turns the air conditioner off,
I'm freezing too.
Z1418, James Hickey, 3758 Old Baptist Road, Collegeville, PA 19426. The applicant is requesting a variance from section 143-6, 143-19B3, 143-32B2, and 143-27A10 to exceed the maximum 150 square foot to place an additional ancillary building of 288 square feet behind an outside building envelope, and variance from section 143-33A2B and 143-33A2C from the 50-foot side yard and 60-foot rear yard setback requirements to allow the storage structure to be placed 5 feet from the side and rear of the property. The parcel ID of this property is 430009850007. Subject property is located at 3758 Old Baptist Road, Collegeville, 19426.
Hello, Mr. Fury.
Members of the board, good evening. Michael Fury. Mr. Hickey asked me to assist him in presenting the application this evening. As you know, my office is in Audubon. I have exhibit packets for the board.
Thank you. Got it.
Members of the board, Mr. Solicitor, attached to the application is the deed, the tax assessment information, and the zoning map. If we could perhaps mark those as exhibits.
How do you want them? Just A1 through whatever the numbers?
A1, A2, and A3, please. So we have the deed, which I guess is A1, and the tax assessment information, which could be A2, along with the tax map, and then A3 would be the zoning map. And then in the
Wait,
board's...
I'm confused, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's not what he just
This.
gave us.
Right.
You gave us the,
You
Yeah,
get-
it's not in your exhibit packet. This is attached to the
Oh,
application.
the
Oh,
application.
right, that was the missing
Thank you.
ingredient.
There you go.
We're just sheep. We just
No,
follow.
it's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to get to exhibit packet in a second, but on the application, attached to the application is a deed, which I'd like perhaps marked as exhibit A1.
And you're confusing me even more because it's the last exhibit
That's
and
the
attached
last
to the
exhibit, yes, please.
A1. Got it.
And then the tax assessment information along with the tax map perhaps could be marked collectively as A2.
Collectively.
And then we have a copy of the zoning map, which and the property marked as an X, and we'll mark that as A3. And the exhibit packets this evening I handed out, there's a plan, the first page is would be A4. And then there are 3 photographs, which we can mark as A5 collectively. And then the final exhibit is a representation of the type of shed that Mr. Hickey would like to place on the property. As the board is well aware, the accessory structure, in addition to the house and the garage on the property, is permitted. It's permitted to be where it's located, 5 feet from the rear and side property lines, if he's successful putting it up. However, it can only be 150 square feet for this to be located at that location. Otherwise, we have a existing undersized lot with a non-conforming lot width. So we have really a zero building envelope to erect any other buildings. So with regard to this storage shed, Mr. Hickey would like to place it in the location as shown on the plan, and would like to have the size of 288 square feet. And I'll have Mr. Hickey explain the reasons why. I would note that the building coverage limits of the district are still applicable, and we're still complying with that. And the pervious coverage limits are also being complied with. So the only thing really is that it's the size of the shed in the location where it is. So I'll have Mr. Hickey perhaps sworn.
James Hickey,
Try your last name, please.
Hickey, Hickey.
You raise your right hand, sir. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about the giving this matter, the truth and whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes,
Thank you.
Jim, you're the owner of the property, is that correct?
yes,
And you own this property since 1989? Is that correct?
correct.
Okay. And you have a house and a garage on the property?
That's right.
You're welcome to sit down, Mr. Hickey, if you'd like. It's
Okay.
more comfortable for you. And then
Thank
just
you.
try to use the microphone as best you can,
okay.
please.
Jim, the property, when you look at the plan, the property to the left, where the shed will be located, what is the use of that property?
It's been abandoned for about 5 years. Mr. and Mrs. Clark used to live there.
Okay, and the house there is boarded up, is that correct?
Right.
Okay, and behind you, what is behind you?
It's a residential property. The state bought it back in, when they were going to flood the valley.
Okay,
It's 3 acres, I believe.
all right. And then to the right, what is that?
That's my neighbor, Bob Hayes, about 1.5 acres.
All right. Now, with regard to the shed, we showed the board the location. Explain the pictures that you have here. that were marked as A5, what are we looking at there? The back corner of your lot where the shed's going to be located?
Yeah, the orange cone is the back corner of the property line, and I'm standing behind the garage, and the picture's going a circular motion as I'm walking to the other side of the property, then to the back corner of the property.
So, and you have a good bit of vegetation to shield the shed from the view of anyone on the side of the back?
True.
And then explain to the board, this is the shed that you'd like to put up, is that correct?
Something very similar, yeah. That's just maybe a different color or whatever, but something very similar.
And that would be for your storage of your household use items, your lawnmower and whatnot, is that correct?
Right, I have the same, similar problem to the last gentleman. I have a 3-car garage and can't get a car in it. So I was gonna put my lawnmower, motorcycles, lawn equipment, car parts, tires, and all that type of thing.
But isn't that the problem that we have in America, that we have
Bad.
too much stuff?
That just piles up, 20 years worth.
And the goal is to try to get it inside, so that's...
Since 1989, you must have a lot of stuff.
So that's our application.
When I first looked at that first picture, Michael, I thought that was the 5th hole on the green. It looked so nice.
Yeah, it does. I know.
It looks like a flag.
It does. Yeah, he's got quite a bit of space back there. And I would suggest to the board that it's de minimis. We can obviously put a shed where it's located. It's just he'd like a little bit bigger than what's permitted by the ordinance currently. And so I would suggest it's de minimis.
What's behind these trees where the cone is? That's where you want to put it, where the cone is roughly?
It'll be this side of it. That's the back
Right.
corner of the property line.
And what's behind all those trees?
It's wooded over to the left, and behind it, that's a hedgerow. And then there's a house up on the hill in the back. That's the state
That's the state property you're
Yeah.
referring to, and nobody lives there, obviously.
Somebody does live there.
They rent it from the state.
Right.
Have you spoken to that person or to the state about any objection to something being that close to the line there?
I haven't.
State don't even know they own it.
Right, that's probably true.
How far away is the house from your back property line?
The house in back?
In the back, yeah.
It's pretty far, like 75 yards.
Okay.
We were sort of joking beforehand about that road that you're on. I don't think many people are going to be disturbed by going by a shed down there because it can be scary in the darkness back there.
It's no outlet, yeah.
You're not gonna have any trouble getting that 12 by 24 up the road, are you? Coming down back this road.
Well, I think the hardest part might be getting in my driveway with the overhanging tree branches. Did you? I don't think the road's a problem, but getting it around the corner up my driveway possibly.
Nice looking shed.
I'm sure that Michael explained this to you, Mr. Hickey, but it's really kind of a double variance in that you could put a 150 square foot one up almost, anywhere within 5 feet of the line, but one up to 250 requires going through, this process.
Right.
But you're asking for actually a little bit more than that, which means that we have to give you a variance on the definition of shed as well as, I guess the point I'm getting at, do you need 288 or is 250? The shed that you have here, I don't think is anywhere near 288 square
10 by
foot.
12.
No, it's just a
So you're
sample
gonna get a
picture.
bigger one. Is there a
It's 12
standard size shed that you would get that would actually fit within the definition?
10 by 15, it wouldn't.
No, I mean
We're trying to
larger
empty out.
than that, like
Pardon me?
25 by 10 or 12 by, I know it's only 30
As
something.
far as my answer is no.
Yeah. Are these standard sizes, I'm assuming, that you have to,
Well, the standard size the township gave me was 10 by 15, I believe, so
Right,
they have any size shed you want. There's a variety of sizes.
I just wondered if you'd researched and found one that maybe was
pre-built.
12 by 20, which would be 220 square feet or something like, no, 240 square feet. So
Well,
much for my
it'd be
math.
about the size of a garage car bay, and I just figured if I had 4 motorcycles in there and a lawnmower and other various things, I wouldn't have to take 3 things out to get one out the door and then put the other ones
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, it seemed like a small thing. It's just that, as we've learned, variances, lead to precedent, and precedent leads to, trouble down the road when you start expanding too far beyond what the code allows.
Well, he has to leave room to put more stuff.
That's correct.
I know how that works.
Go ahead,
What are you
Joyce, I'm
saying,
sorry.
Bob, 10 by 15?
No, 10 by 15, I mean, that's,
That's allowed
he could
on-
actually put
That's
that
only
in
2
without even coming
motorcycles.
before us.
Yeah.
But I think the definition of a storage shed in the code is up to 250 square feet, if I'm remembering correctly. So you're asking actually for even,
More than
it's
that.
really not a shed anymore, it's almost what you'd call a second building as opposed
how
to a
much is-
storage shed.
how
But
much is mine, do you
250
know?
would be,
Two.
That's a
Yeah,
big
but
building.
it might
Fairly
have to
good
be,
size.
You're looking at 288 by 12 by 24.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of the numbers you're throwing out now,
Yeah,
but
yeah, it is, it's in part,
It's part of it.
143.6, I think, just the definitions part, kind of limits sheds to, and again, I think under the variance provisions, that could be allowed, but it does seem like maybe more of a step if you really don't need.
well, I
12 by
feel I need it,
24,
that's why I'm
if
here.
12 by 20 would be sufficient, then, excuse me?
I think I need it, that's why I'm here.
10 by 24 gives you 240 square.
What do you think she needs to be?
Right, that'd be in the ballpark.
May I ask a question?
good.
Bob?
I was wondering, in this building, besides storage, you mentioned car parts, tires, motorcycles. Will you have electricity out there? Are you gonna wire it?
No,
Not at all.
no,
Will there be any water, any running
no,
water?
no.
No.
Just-
Strictly storage, and it's gonna be one level?
Yes.
No 2 levels with steps?
No.
Just curious, because I'm in the market looking at sheds right now myself. You could have done 2 sheds.
Could you use your shed?
No, you could have actually done 2 smaller sheds, I would think, and it wouldn't be as much trouble to get it delivered and in, unless you plan to have them come in and build this on site.
No, it rolls off the back of a truck.
And is it gonna be on gravel or?
4 inches of stone, yeah,
4 inches of stone.
yeah.
Joyce, you ought to see how nice they do that. How they do that. They do that so nice.
Okay. I was just curious about the electric and the water and the.
No, I didn't figure on
You're
that.
not gonna sell anything back there or have a repair garage?
No, strictly to clear up
How
my
would they
garage so I
find
can get a car in it.
You're
Well,
not
they'd
gonna
find
have
them.
room for anything?
It's not gonna be the Green Eagle Hotel?
The green.
And it does say this is an additional accessory building, so are you counting the garage as one accessory, and this is the only shed that will be added? Okay.
Is that correct? Yes.
Thank you.
We've got some nice stumps there. We can have a nice sit-down dinner or something like that.
Any other
Other
questions?
questions?
Stumps out, huh?
No, they just sit around the fire pit.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
We'll roast
Wanna
my-
make a motion?
Yeah.
You ready? Do it.
You got it.
Somebody gonna-
10 by
Motion?
20.
Any opposition out there in the audience?
Oh, I forgot there's still people here. They were so quiet.
Okay, I'll make the motion again. I'll make the motion that this waiver be granted.
10 by
Kathy,
24.
do we have a second?
10 by 24 or 12 by 24?
What do you ask for?
288 square feet.
It's larger than
Then
the definition of shed.
Right.
A 10 by 24, what's your name? Kathy. She hit me earlier, that's why, would keep us under that 250.
One of the reasons why he was asking about the 12 by 24 is that's a standard size for this.
Well,
It's
that's
one
what
of the
I was trying to
standard
get at
sizes.
before, is
Yeah.
that is a standard size.
Yeah, that's the standard size for one of these sheds.
They sell, yeah.
Well, let me second it. I did. I'm waiting for a second.
You got a second.
But he said he needed 288.
I don't see anybody's gonna see it back there.
Okay. We have a motion? Do we have a
Tom.
second?
Tom
Tom
seconded.
seconded?
Sure, you can put it in without anything.
Any questions? I hear no questions on the motion.
He won't let me.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Got
Thank
it.
you. It was
Happy hunting, Mr. Hickey.
Thank you.
very good to see you again this evening.
Sorry to
When a
keep you so
future
long.
board comes after us and says, you know, you should not allow that, I'm kidding. But
Michael.
Well, let me
because
tell
of the
you.
location this is at,
Mike,
because
stay
where
off
you are,
that
I think
system.
that it's
That's right.
allowable.
It's very,
It's
very
way in the back.
protected.
It is way in the back.
Traffic
Yeah,
on
you
that
take
road.
each property as it comes, and I think this is.
Yeah,
is
and that's why I
reasonable.
think we can make an exception here.
It'll be wonderful.
I wasn't
Thank
trying to
you.
pick on you, Mr. Hickey, for the size.
You just better hope that guy up in the woods don't come down and find that shed.
Yeah, he
Guy
might
the
want
state
to,
cops are looking for.
I can't believe they didn't find him yet. That's crazy.
Tom,
Thank you very much. It's good to see you.
Have a good night.
See you, Mike, take care, thanks. Thanks for your patience.
okay, now we have
Mark and Susan.
Z 1419, Mark and Susan Miller. Tom, you want to take care of
I'll be
that?
more than happy to,
Thank you.
if I can find it.
It's on the back page.
Oh, I'm sorry, he's looking on the back page, so sorry.
Yeah,
That's
flip
okay.
it over.
Yeah, it's,
Mark and Susan.
they're getting loopy.
Miller. No, no.
Miller.
Miller.
Yes.
Thank you, I'm sorry, sir. 123 Tom Sack Circle, Eagleville, PA, 19403. The applicant's requesting a variance from section 143-37 requiring a rear yard setback of 60 feet to allow for the construction of an enclosed porch 53 feet from the rear property line. The parcel ID of the subject property is located at 121 Tom Sack Circle, Eagleville, PA, 19403. It's all yours.
Should I stand here or should I sit there?
Stand there because
Stand
you're
is fine.
really
You
good
can
on the
stand there.
camera.
Okay. Well, I am Susan Millar. Yes, I do. And this is my husband, Mark Millar, and this is David Stonelake, who is a builder. So my husband and I live at 123 Tom Stock Circle, which is in the Trooper section of the township. We would like to have a 12-foot by 14-foot porch or covered deck built onto the back of our house. Mike, can you show one of the pictures of the back of our house? Okay. The porch that we are proposing would be very similar to the porches that many of our neighbors already have. Due to the way our property is situated, it's short in the back. The way our property is, it's wide on the sides, but short in the back. We are 7 foot short of meeting the 60-foot rear setback requirement. Our existing deck already comes out to 53 feet from the rear of our property line. So the construction of a porch would tie our house in with the yard and also blend in with the neighborhood and add to the value of our home. If we're not able to build the porch, it would hurt us financially because we are trying to increase the value of our home. And then the sketch, which Mike did just have up, and it's a rough sketch and not to scale, but it does show 18 homes close to and including our home. This is the rear of our home where we're proposing to have the porch built. So this sketch shows the 18 homes that are close to our home, and out of these 18 homes in close proximity, 4 have a deck, 4 have covered porches, and 3 have patios. The proposed porch will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. We have talked to all of our closest proximity neighbors about the proposed porch, and they have signed that they have no objection to it and they do not oppose it. And then this is a photo of a nearby neighbor's porch, similar to what we are proposing. So you can see that the proposed porch will not negatively affect the desirable character of our neighborhood. And that's all I have to say, aside from David Stonelake is our builder.
so he can address any structural questions that you may have.
I have some questions. Is this porch going to be ground level, or it's going to come off your upper level?
It will come off the upper level out of our dining room.
So the windows over your sliding glass doors, is that your dining room?
Yes, that is correct.
And whoever drew this, don't give up your day job. You did it? Oh, my God. Because you must have done it in pencil, because it didn't, it didn't photocopy very well. That was my only question.
Will it be high enough off of your lower patio to walk under it?
Yes, yes, it would be, I don't know.
You have steps coming off the side.
I see the steps on the side.
Yes.
But you'll be able to still walk under that?
To get in the door
So,
downstairs.
yeah.
Will you have the steps going from the deck down to the?
Oh, you ought to be
To the lower deck.
Lower deck?
They go to the lower deck. The deck doesn't go into that section where those double doors are.
It doesn't.
Oh, it's down the other
Mike,
end.
could you
The
show
other
the
end.
picture of the back of the house? Maybe that will show it.
Said deck.
That's
Deck
your house,
doesn't-
that's your
it-
patio?
Yes, and that's the existing deck. This would be a porch coming out of the windows to the far left. And the deck is not underneath of that area.
No, but your glass doors are under it,
Yes.
and they will remain.
Yes.
And you'll be able to exit from
Come in
them
and out.
underneath,
Yes.
underneath the deck. That's what I think they were trying to get at.
Just show.
But the steps are going to come down to the existing concrete patio.
That's-
Well, it's a deck. It's a
deck.
wooden deck,
Wooden
but
deck.
yes.
Use the pointer there.
All right.
There you go.
All right, this siding comes off, the floor joists go back in, and they actually rest on the existing block wall, okay? And the deck ends right here, which is opposite this window. Okay, so you still be, when you come out here, because the floor joists of the deck are even with the floor joists of the house.
Is it a deck or a porch or both?
It's a deck with a screen-in porch.
And
So
can
it's a
you-
porch, okay.
Can you state your name for the record, because we don't have you? No, you can just say it loudly.
Yeah, David Stonelake.
And the testimony you just provided is true and correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's great.
You swear and affirm that the testimony you're giving is true and correct?
Yes.
So
Thanks.
help you.
Yes, so help you, Yahweh.
I think we're getting, this board's starting to get punchy.
There we go.
10:30, oh my God, Nancy. Don't do this again.
I gave you a choice. You picked it. Now you suffer with it.
Actually,
Yeah.
the door, I see the floor joist come out
Right.
even. Okay.
Front porch.
And it's gonna be that, this gets screened
Yeah,
on,
take a
and this
picture
is
of
the
the
neighbor,
porch, huh?
and then the steps will come
Yeah,
off.
eating cupcakes or something.
Electric and heat or?
Yes, it does.
Oh,
Yeah.
no heat, no heat, just electric.
You didn't see that?
No, I did not see that.
Oh, and that's the step.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The existing black back wall of the
Right.
house. So
Right.
actually
Okay,
coming
we're
in
done.
behind
Move
the
on.
existing floor joist.
Great. Now, this is a good thing.
That is.
That we
The building
like.
inspector gets
Did,
this.
did
That
you
we
see
Show
what-
her that so
did
she
you see
knows
what
that
we
you
were
can draw.
looking at?
See, Kat?
There's steps coming off, yeah.
What am I doing?
The proposed deck, down to the existing deck.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
So
probably,
the
yeah.
existing deck is going to stay.
Yes, that stays. That's over
Okay.
to
Mhm.
the right of the house.
Okay.
We're not plans.
Mhm.
Right.
So
We're
basically,
planner.
what I'm saying is it's not gonna interrupt with the patio that's there now.
Correct.
It'll be sitting off on the side.
David, this is what we're all looking at. That's why he was making fun of your drawing. You
That's
can
okay.
barely see it. You can't see it.
Maybe
It's
that
not
is the
printed.
pencil one.
It's not printed very well compared to what you
Have
just
a-
have there.
a Chinese printer.
Okay.
China.
Okay. Mrs. Miller?
That's
just
fine.
a couple of quick questions.
Sure.
Who's directly behind you?
Oh, are the neighbors?
Yeah.
The one directly behind us, his name is John Reeser.
Hey, did you talk to him at all?
Yes,
Is he one of the ones on the,
Yes,
Right.
he's one of the ones on our list that we went around and talked to everyone and got their signatures, that they had no objection.
and you've been, I think this house was built in 1965, and obviously built on as we were talking about earlier, on a lot that's undersized by today's standards, 20,000 square feet. So there's really no other way for you to do this without encroaching into the backyard setback. And you put it on the side, you're encroaching
It
into
would
the
not
side yard setback.
look aesthetically pleasing on the side, I don't think.
So you're really kind of limited is what you're doing, and you're not going any farther out on the side than you are already. It's going back parallel with the house.
Correct.
Going back to 12 feet. I know the existing deck is 14 feet, but you're not going out 14, just 12?
Well, that's the thing. We have the bi-level where there's a cantilever, so our upstairs comes out 2 more feet than the downstairs.
There you go.
So it'll be the same
It'll be the
width,
same.
the
I was
same
wondering why
depth.
it wasn't, but that explains it. Really.
Yeah.
No, that's great, and your next door neighbor, the one that is on that side, was included in your list too. No, thank you. That's all I have. Anyone else?
Okay. I have one question. If this gets approved, there's only 4 seats there on the deck. You're gonna have to add 7 more to invite us over for a barbecue.
Okay, you're on.
Did you see, Mr. Stone, like they just gave you more business?
No more questions, Nancy.
No
I'll
more
put a motion on
questions?
the floor.
But, you have a question?
No, I'm done.
Okay.
Put a motion on the floor.
Does anybody in the audience have a question? They're too tired.
I'll second the motion.
Who made a motion?
Tom.
Me.
Tom? Let me get it in the right.
He's made every single
I
motion.
know.
He's made every single second. They don't give us a chance.
Kathy. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Have a good night, folks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job, thank you.
Put a bird feeder where you can see it from your porch. You'll enjoy it.
I got a lot of bird feeders around the yard.
There you go.
Actually, I call them squirrel feeders.
Yes,
Me too.
that too.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay. Now we're down to Z1420.
Right.
Who wants to do that? Tom?
Tom, you want to read Donald and Mary Schroll?
Or did he read the last one?
Z1420. Donald and Mary Scholl.
Scholl, that's right.
I did it right. Thanks, Mr. Scholl. 372 Church Road, Eagleville, PA. You're not Eagleville, are you? Trooper, aren't you?
No, that's Eagleville.
Well, we're all Eagleville.
It's whatever you want.
Norristown. They got us all.
Come on.
My credit card company thinks I'm in Norristown, but everything else is Eagleville.
As long as your insurance company doesn't figure you're in Norristown.
No.
you're all right. The applicant requesting
Those
variance.
bills come to Eagleville.
The applicant's requesting variance from section 14330 and 14330, 14330.
I believe that's a misprint. I remember when filling it out, there was 2 different numbers.
That should be 37.
37 and 30.
It
Yeah.
On the application's
Yeah.
correct, but
The application's
the
correct.
agenda is incorrect.
143. Thank you. Sections 143:17, 37, and 143:30 requiring setbacks of 20 feet from the side property line for the installation of a backup generator with a reduced setback of 9 feet. The parcel ID of the subject property is 43-00-02221-598. Subject property is located at 372 Church Road, Eagleville, PA 19403. Mr. Schultz, all yours.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
As was stated, my wife and I are looking to add a backup standby emergency generator to our property. After last winter and all that went on there, we decided to make the investment to put that in there. We're fortunate enough that we do a little traveling sometimes in the winter, and the house will be unoccupied for a month or so at a time. So we really look to make sure the house is protected, not only then, but in the summer months with the thunderstorms. Fortunately, we didn't have any power outages at all this summer, but last winter, if you remember, was quite a different story. And if you believe in the Farmer's Almanac, this winter coming up,
looks to be a little worse than the last one we just went through. So
good.
not to be a pessimist or anything like that, we just like to protect our house. I do have,
He wasn't sworn
Mr. Shaw,
photos.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
just a minute. We have to swear you in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We forgot.
The young lady there needs your hand up.
I should know that. I've been here, I was here 22
We
years
should
ago.
know that. We've been doing
I
this
was here
for,
22
We're
years ago with a
tired.
bunch of Weeblo Cub Scouts to show them how you go to one. I do.
and you also swear and affirm that that testimony you've already provided has been the
I
truth
do.
and the whole truth, so help you God.
Yep.
Perfect, thank you.
This property we've owned since it was built in 1979, so we've been around the township for a while too. I have some photos. That photo there is of my property is our property is 372. That property is on 374, which is the house right there. My house is the one in the middle. Our neighbors went through this process, I guess, last year and had a generator installed.
Did they get a variance?
Well, apparently, let me explain, this caused a lot of dissension here at one point.
Careful, you're on television now.
I understand that, but you can't see that from the tree, but behind that tree or bush, there's an air conditioner compressor. They installed central air in the house prior to 2006, which made that house that lot non-conforming, and as long as they were allowed to keep, as I'm told, as long as they kept the generator within the footprint of the non-conformity, there was no variance needed. That's what I was told. I don't know. But that's why apparently I'm here, because I'm the guy who sweats in the summertime because I don't have central air. So it's a very similar installation, a little bit further back towards the chimney because there is on that property there, if you look, there is a basement window right underneath that big power box. They sealed that window off. That's no longer a window in their house. That's done. But my wife and I would like to keep those windows up, but we don't have central air, as I stated, so we're going to move the generator back further on the property to center it more between the two windows, basement windows, and then it meets the standard for how far from a window it has to be. But you can also see in that picture, maybe it'd be better to go to the picture of my property, Mike. I don't know. That's the other house. That's my property, my side. You can see we're going to be centered pretty much between those, as the plan shows, between those two windows. But there's where the gas meter is, and that's where, to put it anywhere else on the property would mean running a substantial amount of gas piping that just to me, doesn't sound safe or logical. Like I said, the house has been there since '79. We have 15 feet from our house to the property line, and the house, I guess, according to what I've heard here tonight, the lot's non-conforming now anyway because you need 20 feet in the first place, and I don't have it. You can see just in the corner there, bottom corner of my neighbor's driveway. Speaking to that neighbor, if I may, I have a letter from the Brooks family stating that they have no objection to the building being on their building up the
pad and the
pad. Yeah, it sits on a self-standing concrete pad. It's not something that's poured. It just lays down there.
Now, that's the guy that has a generator now.
He has the same.
He has no objection to you putting
He has no objection either.
That's awfully nice.
Yeah, no, this is, I'm sorry, this is not this letter is from the neighbor that faces the place where we have the problem with the area.
That's
our house.
That's my house there.
right, but Mike, you just showed a picture of the generator, that's on the opposite
That's my
side.
neighbor at 324. They had it installed by the same contractor, the same electrician. Everything's the same, so.
Will that be approximately the size? Mike, or you can go back to?
That's a 17 kilowatt generator.
Was that it?
That's a 17 kilowatt. Mine is going to be a 16 kilowatt because we don't have the load for the central air. It's a tiny bit smaller, but for all general purposes, it's the same size.
The same.
2 foot by 4 foot approximately is the size of it.
And that'll be the size of the pad that you need. The
Yep,
pad
just
will
exactly
be-
what you see there. They carry that pad in, they set that pad on the ground, and that's it.
Now, it looks like yours is going to be a little further from your house.
Right, we're going to be out it's pretty much centered off the chimney, so we're gonna be out a little bit off of there, because I believe the regulation was 5 feet from a window, if I remember correctly, and in order to put it, where we're putting it on the, when you measure on the diagonal, we're 5 feet from both windows.
I was just curious that, and this is, I guess, off the subject a bit, that his looks right up against the house.
It is pretty close. It's probably foot and a half
Yeah.
from the house.
And your fuel source is?
Natural gas.
Natural
it's
gas,
off
not
the-
propane?
From Pico.
Okay. You're one of those lucky ones that's
Yeah.
got gas.
When they built the house, they put an electric range in it, though. I haven't figured out to this day.
It's cheaper for the builder.
Okay, thank you.
Keith, Mike has a question.
Is that right?
Mike, do you have a comment?
I would just ask that if both the applicant and the board were willing, I could testify a little bit to some of the determinations that were made on this, because I have visited the site and worked with the Shoals on this. So I could perhaps explain a little bit of some of the thinking back and forth. I'm just offering that if that's.
That's great.
Before you do that, could I ask him a question? You travel, I'm just curious, when you travel and you're not home, you would, even though this is hooked into your system of your house, you still would have to have someone come in and turn this on?
No. It senses the loss of electrical power to the house and starts itself up automatically.
Oh.
And runs automatically.
The only thing if he running, Joyce, if he's out of town, would be his refrigerator and his freezer. He
Right.
doesn't have central air. so
It has, and I don't remember the term for it.
Well,
but
wintertime it would be heat, so his pipes don't.
Yeah, but
It'll make sure-
heat's already gonna be on.
It makes sure it has a priority sensors in it. For example, when it fires up, it makes sure that the heater, the refrigerator, and that stuff keeps running. It doesn't worry about the electric dryer in the laundry room right away. And as it runs, say the time goes from a power outage to 20 minutes to a power outage to 20 hours. It'll waterfall up and ramp itself up to the point where by the time you get to 20 hours, it'll run everything in your house.
What's the decibel level when it's running?
Well, I
When it ramps up?
don't know exactly what the decibel level is. I can tell you that my neighbors they check themselves twice a month. They come on and run for 10 minutes and shut themselves off. When I'm in my home, I don't hear it. When I'm in my car in the driveway next to it, I don't hear it run. Okay, it's very, very quiet. It's amazing how quiet it is.
Don, my son put one up in Michigan, and it doesn't make as much noise as what his air conditioner makes.
No, that is true, because like I said, my neighbor's has an air conditioner compressor just out of the picture to the right, and when it runs, you hear that. I can hear that on my deck, I can hear that in my car, but I
You
don't.
sure you don't want to put air conditioning in this place?
Yeah, right.
Shh, my wife's here now, relax. Yeah, she wants to do that too, but unfortunately, at one point, one thing at a time, and
How much does something like this cost?
fully installed about $8,500.
Huh?
Good, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
But that's
What
That's-
unit you put in, Generac?
Generac, yeah, Guardian Series.
You might wanna upgrade it, because you're gonna be getting the air conditioning.
Yeah.
Actually, I said that to the gentleman that's installing it for us, and he told me, since that one was installed, they've come out with a new line. Mine, 16 kilowatt ones can actually run more than the 17s can now, so it will run the air conditioner when it's time.
Now we'll give Mike his chance.
Yes, let him.
Oh, I'm sorry. By the way, before he speaks, Mike was extremely, I want to tell the board, he was extremely helpful in this whole process of filling out that form.
We're sure. We know him.
We know Mike.
$4,000?
Yeah.
Wow.
$8,500, almost as much as
Good
my
evening.
first
Do I
house.
have this one?
Why is, oh, he's being testified, yeah.
Good evening. Just so that there's some clarity about the interpretation of why the neighbors was allowed about a year or so ago, beyond the fact that it wasn't me. Two things came into play. One was that the air conditioner was already intruding into the setback. The interpretation that I received on the advice of the township solicitor was that by allowing a generator to match the encroachment of the air conditioner was not increasing the nonconformity. It was basically.
Nonconformity already existed, and this was just an addition to that
That-
nonconformity. It didn't
that's
expand
correct.
it, it just was within that same nonconformity.
Exactly. And that's why well, I can't speak for my predecessors, but I believe that that's why that interpretation was there. Unfortunately for the Shoals, they don't have that structure to allow for
Should have put the air conditioner in, see?
And so that was that. The other concern that I believe was raised a little bit was the closeness to the house. That's a building code regulation of the 5 feet, basically so the exhaust doesn't go back into the house. With the, again, an interpretation prior to my coming on board here, the neighbor sealed up their basement windows so that the exhaust would not protrude perhaps, and therefore that's why their generator was allowed as close to the house as possible. The Shoals are not intending on doing that with variance.
Much safer that they don't.
Well, he's 6 feet from the chimney. So it's all right.
Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay.
Anything else
I
you want
think
to add?
that's about it. Just,
Anybody in the audience?
Any
Yeah,
questions?
anybody out there?
You have anything you want to say, lady?
Any questions from the
I
board?
like being at the end of the agenda, by the way.
That's right.
No, you're not. There was somebody else waiting. They must have left.
But I am glad I didn't bring those Cub Scouts to a meeting like tonight's.
I know, that would have been awful.
They were fascinated too, by the way.
Good.
The questions they asked, the big question was, how do I get one of those jobs?
What, these guys?
Yeah, they said it really looks easy. I said, looks are deceiving, let me tell
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Tell them they can have mine next year. I'm up next
Well,
year.
they're all in their 30s now, so maybe one of them might want to do that.
They can have it. Madam Chairperson, I'll put a motion on the floor.
Just a
to-
minute.
Wait.
Is it, you have a question? Anybody in the audience?
You got one people, see, she's smiling.
She can ask a question if she wants.
She's smiling. She said no.
No? All right, hearing none, can I have a motion?
I just gave you one.
No, you were in the middle of the meeting.
She stopped.
Joyce was gonna say something.
No, I'm fine.
No? Okay. Tom?
Reverse that now. Madam Chairperson,
Yes,
happy birthday.
thank you.
I'll put a motion on the floor to be approved.
Okay, second?
I'll second it.
Bob seconded. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
I hope you bring us good luck and we don't have a power failure. We were at 7.
Well, I hope, yeah, I hope you're wrong. I'm a superstitious kind of, well, I'm not superstitious, I'm just kind of stitious. But I believe that if you have spare parts for your automobile, you'll never need them.
Our last applicant.
He's not here.
They are. I have a set of valve cover gaskets for a Ford van I haven't owned in 25
You
years,
must have heard
hanging
it
in my
continue
garage.
until next month.
They
And
thought
they
it
left.
meant them too.
So we should do it and just,
Hopefully we're in luck.
it's a generator.
Mike,
Well, what do you mean you're gonna do? You can't do
No, there's a lot
anything.
of questions on the generator.
Michael, what's the story? I mean, this guy were they supposed to be here tonight? The other one? You folks are free to go. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
Thank you for all your help.
What,
Were they even here?
Did you hear from them at all
Were
before?
they here?
No, I did not. I was expecting them to,
Be here.
waiting here, yes.
Well, can you do us a favor? Can you call them and find out what the story is? Because it may be that they left in
They
the
thought-
shuffle.
Yeah, it may have been
Yeah.
a simple misunderstanding.
We don't wanna deny anybody.
Although I thought we made it clear that
We did.
Right, no, I see where you're going with that, and I'll check in with them in the morning.
And if they were confused, there's a difference between if they just didn't show up and they were here, but they thought it was gonna go all night, so they figured they wouldn't be heard, so they left. They should have the right to be heard, obviously. They paid their fee, right?
They did. I will do my best to
in
subtly
touch with them?
discern that.
okay.
Find out what the story was.
Yeah, find out
If they're
what's
blowing us off, then we'll blow them off.
Duly
Michael,
noted.
there are a number of different titles of applicants and addresses within this application, which is very confusing. The applicant's Doylestown, but then there's another
Westchester.
There's a Westchester in here. I mean, it's very, like, what are they doing? Who's
Well-
doing it?
But, obviously, the resident, is in the township. There's a company, I believe, and then a contractor involved, and I believe that that's why the difference between Westchester and
One's
Doylestown.
the company, one's
Well,
But it's the same name.
we should probably
Tabor.
We
do
we
this
will.
when they're here.
We will.
Yeah.
I just thought he might know
Yeah.
something we didn't know.
Well, you check on them and tell them they
We
can
were
come
here,
back
where were
the
they?
next meeting.
It didn't make any sense, though. They've already have a permit, they've already paid all these fees, and I went by the house today and I think it's there.
I believe that it is, that they were, I prefer not to,
Later.
Yes.
Later.
yeah.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Your
So there's-
job is
okay.
to get in touch with them.
Nance, we gonna go in the back on the first item, or are we gonna just do what we have to do?
Well, we'll go in the back and,
Like Bob said? Give us 5 minutes.
Without
gonna adjourn.
adjournment?
yeah, no, we're
adjourn
coming
to
back.
discuss.
Just gonna take
Yeah.
We're gonna,
If we want to come back and
yeah.
have a.
Do you
an
wanna come
answer.
back and
We'll
bring
leave.
the
I'd like to
answer out?
put it to bed if we can, one way or another.
All right. We'll adjourn for an executive session.
Okay.
Great.
Is that
On the
proper?
first applicant?
On the first applicant?
Is that what we're supposed to?
Yes.
Yeah. We'll be
We
right
are
back.
adjourned.
No.
Nance?
4, 3, 2, 1.
The board will reconvene. We've had an executive session. What are the wishes of the board?
Madam
what's the-
Chairman,
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say, what's remaining is, we hadn't decided the first item on the agenda, which was the request
Daniel,
Daniel Patricia Tabor at 3987 Yerkes Road, Collegeville, Z1409. We're here to decide that now.
Okay, what are the wishes of the board?
Madam Chair, after much deliberation and discussion, I would like to put a motion on the floor that we not approve this application as presented.
Okay, we have a motion to not approve the application. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any questions on it? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thanks, Paula. Thanks, Mike. Nice.
Thanks,
Need a motion to
everybody.
adjourn.
Thanks so late.
Meeting's
Which one is this
adjourned.
for?
You have a
Stand
motion?
the camera.
This is just for Tabor.
Yeah, I need a
Oh,
motion.
wait a minute, I had a question or a statement.
Oh, no.
Oh.
We had talked before about asking our solicitor to send a letter to the Board of Supervisors to review the application
Yes.
fees and how those things are determined.
Say that again?
We know how they determine.
Yeah, no, but we discussed that, the high cost.
The cost is that some people are paying on these application fees, we think they should be reviewed. And we asked our solicitor to send a letter to that effect to the Board of Supervisors.
Did we ask solicitor to do that, or did we
No.
talk about it? I
No,
don't know if there
we
was a
didn't
motion.
ask.
I
Yeah,
still
I
talk
think
to
that
them.
technically, Kathy, we did not ask
We didn't?
Keith to
Okay,
do
then-
that.
then-
Can we do that now?
Well, you have to make a motion, I suspect, and go
Yeah.
through the process, and then I'll do whatever you folks want me to do.
Okay, what do
Okay,
you
I'm
well,
want?
wondering if we, I cannot believe the Board of Supervisors isn't aware of this issue already. I certainly have no objection to putting it in a formal
Question.
letter, but, I mean, it is their call as to what the fees are. I do agree they're too high in cases. I wish they would be reviewed. If this board thinks that having Keith prepare a letter to that is correct.
So do you second?
Tom, are you with that?
Yeah, Bob, I'll go with you on that. You know, I think that at least they're getting a message from us that we do as board members think maybe it's a little too high. You know, $800 to come in and put a deck up, or, you know, to come in for a generator or something like that.
Bless you.
Wasn't it raised though, Tom, because we had someone who, their lot size, the zoning was changed after they purchased the land, and wasn't that the point? I would
That's what
agree
brought
with
it
you in
out.
that case, for those smaller lots where the zoning was changed, which affects the setbacks for a porch or a garage, perhaps they're paying too much.
Yeah,
But to
that's,
question all of the fees,
No,
there is a fee structure that they have come up with, our board.
No, you're correct, Joyce.
So I thought it was just for those
The ones
situations.
before the zoning was changed.
Changed.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
so it's really, it's limiting to
Yes,
those
it's
and
not
not just
taking
in
the
general,
whole
all the
time.
fees.
But I
Exactly.
felt, rather than us dictate to the board, if we made it a general thing and a general review, we covered all the bases,
Yeah,
rather than picking and choosing the ones that we think perhaps should be adjusted.
But the fees were adjusted by our board of supervisors within the last 3 years.
I have no idea of that.
I'm
but I
saying
s-
they were, I have the notes on it at home, and they stressed why the fees, what goes into the fee
I'm
that
not
they charge.
challenging
So-
you,
so I
Joyce,
just-
I'm making a suggestion that I
Okay.
think that's something we should do.
I think we should, put into the letter what, how we generated that thought, and that was the people that had zoning changes after they bought the house and
Like-
came in.
like
That's
Ray-
what
like
you,
Graham Drive, the
Right.
guy down below the dump, him,
Yeah.
and those other people who came before us at
could
last
they,
meeting.
I'm for just them reviewing those applicants and cutting them a
And
break.
future applicants that
Yeah,
had
future
the same
ones.
thing done.
Right.
yes.
Well, let's go
But
back
not
to the
everything.
guy that came in to have a roof put in. He made no changes. It wasn't any bigger, wasn't any smaller, it wasn't anything except a new roof because his roof was leaking. And that really was not a zoning issue. And he paid $800 to come in here and tell us he wanted to put a new roof on.
Well, that was their decision, the board. They're allowed to enact whatever they want. I don't agree with that.
Well, that's why
I
I
think
think we would
replace-
like to have it reviewed. Maybe they,
Well,
And I think that's really all we need to suggest, is that
right,
perhaps
yeah,
they
I'm not
they
telling them
review
which ones to
their
review.
fees and maybe come up with a table that's easy for all to understand, including Mike, because he has to enforce this. So he's not making judgmental values. And just look at perhaps that some of the fees can be adjusted downwards if, in fact, the variance that's being requested is the result of a change in the zoning that we did, you know, as a community in the past years.
I thought they did that roof thing with, if you had to replace the wood, then you had to get a permit. If you
Yes.
just replaced the
Shingles.
shingles, you don't.
That was a permit, not a zoning application. Yeah, you do have to get a permit for a roof.
Well,
Only if you're putting new wood on.
Joyce, you talked about the fee structure that was established. Do you know whether, in fact, when they established that fee structure, they consulted with the board? The zoning hearing board?
I don't think
No, I
so.
don't think.
That really, I think, is your bone of contention, isn't it?
Well, that,
Yeah,
that,
it was set by the board of supervisors.
Right, and
And
they should
basically,
look-
we don't set policy, we follow
But they should
the code
ask for
that's
your
already out.
advice at the very least, as opposed to advice and
I don't think
consent.
that's ever happened.
But that's what I think
I
the
think
the
they
tenor of
should-
the
yeah,
letter should
Yeah,
be.
exactly,
Which
yeah.
is, when you go ahead and you impose these fees,
Well, you can-
perhaps you ought to talk to the zoning
Some
hearing
in-
board and get its
And
opinion.
a officer for
hey,
input.
hey, shall we, adjourn the meeting and continue this?
Well, I think it's an open discussion, that's why it's still on the record. because
Mike
it's-
is staring at us, look.
Well, he's gonna chime in with what his
Well,
opinion
you know,
is.
the planners and the board of supervisors have their meeting set for, I think, next week. It's-
No, they- no,
That
they
was
had it
last
yesterday.
night,
They
you
have
missed
it
it.
already?
Yeah, that it
You
was
missed
last
it.
night.
Oh, it was last night?
Yeah.
So
Well,
maybe
we're
that's
sure
what we ought
get
to
late.
set up.
If I might interject, because of the
You
hour
may.
late, I can speak a little bit to it. At that same meeting, Rich Gestridge asked us to reconvene the ordinance cleanup committee, which is basically a subcommittee of the supervisors and the planning commission, to look at ordinances that need changing, that we find in enforcement or in practice need changing. That actually happened last night. There's two supervisors and two planning commission members, and I believe Rich and somebody from the township solicitor's office, as well as myself. who will now kind of reenact that thing. I guess it had gotten kind of stagnant with all the transition, frankly, in my office. That would, therefore, it would probably be a good opportunity for the fees to be looked at. Now, that, not to digress too far, but one of the reasons that you get these $800 things for stuff like generators is because there's a flaw in the ordinance, frankly, and I have to enforce a flawed ordinance. I have already proposed how to change it so that you guys don't see generator setback issues a whole lot anymore. I've also proposed how we can change it so that we're not seeing so many shed permits anymore. So that's part and parcel of what you're talking about. I mean, these folks like the Shoals aren't going to be coming in for $800. They won't have to come in at all. And so that might answer a little bit of your concern about residents having to, get hit just for, 5 feet because the zoning got changed from 20 feet setbacks to 15 feet setbacks, especially for a shed or a generator.
So it looks like you'll be addressing some of
Well,
this anyway.
that's all well and good, and I hear what you're saying, but it hasn't happened yet, number one, and number two, and I'm not attacking your theory about getting rid of some of those things. You got to look at that from a due process perspective as well, and not to keep the lawyers involved, but I suspect you're talking to the township solicitor about this also?
Eventually.
Okay, so I'd like to be involved in that process a little bit, just to make sure that what you're doing is not going to run afoul of the MPC, because if you do that, then where are you? Everything you've done is going to be undone.
Oh, sure.
So.
Yeah, I would have made that suggestion that we have perhaps someone from this board chime in on that committee to see what's happening for input.
Yeah, I think our chairman.
If somebody would like, sure, I can certainly offer that up to, I mean, I can't speak because it's not mine to
Right.
speak to, but I'll certainly run that up to Flagpole.
Then it makes sense.
Yeah,
that
I think
makes
it
sense.
does. Yeah, tell them we have a chairperson that'd like to sit in on that.
Or you can
Thank you.
designate somebody however you want to do it, yeah.
That's a better idea.
So I made that suggestion. Did you second that? How did this end?
I don't
I'm
know.
not sure there was an actual second, and I'm not sure, do we
There was a
do we
motion.
still need
I don't think there
the,
was a formal motion.
Was there a formal
Mike said he's
motion?
gonna
She
take
said
care of
no.
No, what
I don't
I,
need a letter anymore.
I don't know that we need it
it. I
now,
don't think we need to.
if we can go this
I don't
route.
think we need a motion. I think we just have to direct,
I think Mike is aware now.
Mike-
Mike's got his finger on the
uh,
pulse.
and Keith, if
If I might
Please.
offer a suggestion again to get us out of here.
you may.
Let me run it up to Flagpole that you would like to be involved, somebody from this board would like to be involved in the ordinance cleanup committee. And then you will hold my feet to the fire next month for an answer. Assuming that that is okay, then you can then decide whether you want to
Right.
do the
Sounds
fee
like a
thing or
plan.
not.
I think that's a plan.
Okay, good, good.
I will
good
offer
idea.
the opinion that you're concerned about the fees.
I make a motion, we thank Mike, and then I make a second motion that we adjourn.
No, do us a
Not-
favor.
not order.
Bob, do us a favor, please. October, you know what we're faced with in October.
I actually did think of another hearing, unfortunately, that's
That's
going to come
fine,
forward.
that's fine, but if you can do anything beyond that, let's try to keep it.
We are duly noted, I accept it. We're close enough to October 1st that I believe that we can basically cut it off at this point, unless something hits like Monday.
yeah, and if they're easy ones, get those people in and out first.
Yeah, what's happening to Taco Bell?
They're going to come back.
October?
They're not coming back to you all. They're coming to a conditional use hearing next Thursday, I believe it is.
We don't hear unless they bring some
That's
taco
right.
food.
Yeah, remember when Walmart
yes.
come in, they brought us hoagies.
Oh, I never was on the board that did that.
Taco Bell.
All right, we
Taco
have a
Bell-
motion
Motion
to
on the
adjourn
floor.
the meeting?
Yeah.
Do we have a
You
second?
got a second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes
Thanks,
have
Paul.
it.
Mike was going to say something.
Thanks, Deb.
Too late,
Bell will
Mike.
def-
Wants to say, that's it.
Yeah, he can say that a lot.
Yeah, send everybody.